Um, oh, let's just go here. Video capture. You guys can hear this. Hello, we're live. There we go.
Excellent.
Hello, guys. We
Hey,
have a
everybody.
new face here. We're doing a live stream this week with Steph, who you definitely heard of, but haven't had our own live stream for quite a while.
Not for a long time.
So, well, Steph, why don't you introduce yourself? You're new here, so
I'm Steph.
Steph, what do you do here?
So I'm the CEO of 3DQ, and Matt is not feeling great today, so we just decided Stephen and I would take this one
Yeah.
since we're all working on the tech together. So
Yeah, don't need to let me do a solo stream.
no.
I need someone to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise,
Can't
you're
just talk to myself.
talking to yourself. This online stuff is a little bit challenging with feedback perspective. But yeah. So, and of course, Stephen and I have been working together for over 2 years now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Hello to Kevin. I see you in the chat.
Hey, Kevin.
Let's get 3DQ to 1,000 subscribers. That's a pretty cool goal.
Yeah, right? I think it's a great goal.
Boo. What's that all about? They're trying to scare us. Right. So today, this live stream, we're talking Quinley Vision. So you can actually see up on here, we have our 3D Printle live leaderboard. And what this is all about is we want you guys to play 3D Printle over the course of the stream. And if you post your scores in chat, I'll put the top 3 scores up on the stream. So whoever gets the best score at the end of the stream, we'll give you a little shout out or something. And at the end of the stream, me and Steph are going to play 3D Printle and see how our scores compare to yours. See if we can get the top score, or if any of you are better at it than us, because we haven't seen these ones before. So
Nope.
this will be a fresh
set.
Fresh set. Yeah.
Yep. So we haven't seen it. And Carlo and Mateo are on. Good to see.
Hello. I'm gonna put Carlo Haru. Yeah. So what do we have today, Steph? What's our first order of business?
We're talking about AI today.
AI.
Lots and lots. And we'll be talking more and more about AI, I think, over the next couple of years, really, because now we've done all the basic stuff. Now it's time to make it all smarter.
Yeah.
So part of what we just give a bit of background in terms of Printl and AI. Just the reason we thought it would be fun for you guys to play a game with it is we found it so much fun to play a game with it because it can trick us. And that's really we were going to talk about today is, is AI going to take over 3D printing, and where is it in terms of what we're doing, and talk a little bit about where it's going from here, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've done a bunch of stuff on Quinley Vision over the past week. We've done some updates for 3D Printle over the past week. And so we're going to give you a quick update on what we're doing for that. And hopefully also talk about where we're going in the future. Sort of why we're doing all this in the first place. So yeah, then afterwards we're going to be doing a little bit of a playthrough on 3D Printle. So we'll show you how to get a good score, hopefully. And if by the end of the stream, hopefully you get onto the live leaderboard, and we'll post your scores.
Looks like we have a score already.
Oh, here we go. First one up. Matea,
you did well.
1,227 points out of 2015. That's pretty good. Better than 89% of players so far today.
It's always great when you jump in there first. You can be better than 100%.
Yeah.
But then that goes down. If you're not.
All right.
1227. That's the number. That's the score to beat on 3D Printle today.
Cool. All right. Live leaderboard. Join it.
Absolutely.
Cool. So let's start off with just a quick little intro on what's new with Quinley Vision. So over the past week or so, we've actually retrained the Quinley Vision AI with new data, and part of it was for actually to create a detached video that we've just released on our YouTube channel. Um, so you're on our YouTube channel, but if you want, you can check out our videos and you'll see that we're making little explainer videos. Well, I'm making
Steven's
explainer
making
videos.
explainer
Matea's
videos.
helping a lot with that too. And yeah, we're creating a video for each one of the 14 different print fails that Quinley Vision AI detects. Um,
Well, and maybe we should talk a little bit about what the purpose is of those videos.
yeah,
So go, yeah, maybe talk about how you're putting them together because I like your format.
yeah. So the general format for the videos is we're talking about one specific failure in each video. So what is this failure? Why is it bad? Why is it something that we want to detect in the first place? And then I say how Quinley Vision actually uses the AI to detect it. So sort of what features of the image does Quinley Vision look at in order to know if it's a warping problem or a layer shift or whatever. And so this is something that's going to be helpful for like humans because we have to look at pictures to determine what went wrong with the print, or you just have to look at the print. And um, the things that Quinley Vision looks for, like curled up layers, for example, that's the same thing on a warped print that we can see when it's right in front of us. So yeah, just knowing how to tell the difference between different features of a print helps you identify print fails.
Well, and what you've found, since Stephen has helped a lot of people with print fails over the years,
Yeah.
is a lot of people are confused amongst different types of fails. And the way it fails tells you a bit about what caused it, right? And
Yeah.
or a lot about what caused it. And then once you know what causes it, then you know what to fix.
Yeah, yeah. So in most videos, I try to do I try to relate certain fails to other fails. So if in a lot of cases, for example, spaghetti is the end result of a bunch of different fails. But usually spaghetti doesn't just happen for no reason. Um, and some print fails, like for example warping, um, they're usually like the first sign of something going wrong. So if a little bit of warping's happening, then the part might do a detach, and then you might get spaghetti. And actually, I'll show you some demonstrations of that soon because our new Quinley Vision training model got a lot better, and some of the animations are really nice looking. Um, I shouldn't call it an animation, actually. It's annotation.
Annotations,
Yeah,
yes.
but almost the same word. But they're really nice.
Well, they're
and
animated annotations.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not just static. You know,
yeah, they do move.
they do move.
Yeah. But they're yeah. Right. So yeah, and then so the videos, after I talk about kind of how Quinley Vision detects the fails, I'll tell you how to prevent them from happening in the first place. So the videos aren't just explaining Quinley Vision; it's also how you can make your 3D prints better, how you can fail less. So yeah, if you're online and you see someone struggling with like warping or spaghetti, you can point them to one of the videos and say, hey, like check out Steven's advice. He knows what he's doing.
Well, and it's a really quick primer.
Yeah.
You don't have to read through a bunch of stuff. You don't have to, search all over the place. It's sort of 4 to 8 minutes, depending on the complexity of the fail, and a super quick overview. And I think the interesting thing is that this came out of us, of course, doing the failures with the AI, and saying, well, people are sometimes going to be confused about exactly what caused it, especially if it's one they haven't seen as much.
Yeah.
And they might want to know what to do about it. And we thought, well, you could do a whole bunch of links to a whole bunch of places, but what if you just had a nice little synopsis that people can go and use? So it's kind of the idea. It's a quick one-stop shop.
Yeah, because I think we've tried to cover pretty much all the common fails that you can tell by looking at a print. So our aim is to have kind of a little playlist with kind of as a resource where you can look through and find the fail that you think you're having based on like the thumbnail, and then you can get a full in-depth explanation on why it's happening and what you can do to fix it. Yeah, so that's kind of our idea behind the print videos that we've been doing.
Yep. So we definitely want people to go and play Printle and tell us what their scores are.
Yep, looking for scores. I say some Taya in the chat. Hello. He says hi, Steph.
Hey, Taya. Good to see you. So Taya's got to go try it. Now, Taya, I know you don't do 3D printing, but I also know you've been trying out the game, so that's kind of cool. So, yeah, so should we talk a
Yeah.
bit more about
Well, let's do the
Vision?
Quinley Vision update.
Yeah,
So, Quinley Vision. So we've trained it on new data, and we have some really cool animation. So annotation. I said the wrong word. I'll just show it because it's probably easier to explain when there's some video.
when
in the
people
background.
actually see it. I agree.
So let's get this going. I'm in control of the stream now since Mateo isn't doing this now. He's taking a day to recover.
Yeah, he doesn't have COVID, by the way, in case anybody's worried. He doesn't,
Yes, it's not bad.
not COVID. He's just completely whacked out and not feeling well. So, but maybe we'll see him in the stream. That'd be kind of nice.
Yeah, Mateo gets on. Okay, here we go. Actually, I'll just hide us for a second. Yeah. Okay, here we go. So this is our demonstration for the detached video. And right now you see this is a whole batch of parts failing. And so the Quinley Vision, we've trained it so that it can detect like tons of fails in the same image. So you can see that there's little bits of under extrusion, stringing, all kinds of annoying problems in the same picture here. And I'll just kind of try to pause it on a good frame. You can see now we've made the annotations larger so you can actually kind of read them. And he's saying, yeah, Wordle is already too hard for me. We shall see how I do. You'll have a good time, even if you don't get a super high score. It'll be nice to see someone on second place. So yeah, on here we have a whole bunch of different fails all in the same image, and this is what Quinley Vision is automatically detecting when your print is live. So you can see we have one part here that's detached from the build plate that's boxed down out in blue, and all the other little defects there are highlighted in orange and yellow. So that was one of our newest demonstrations for Quinley Vision, which we were quite excited to show you guys. Here's the next one. So this is sort of an interesting case where we have one issue happening that causes another issue that causes another issue. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to put us as a... I'm going to see if I can get us on screen again because it's a bit weird. Yeah, let's do this. Yeah, we're back. So getting kind of a timeline here. So what's happening in this photo is there's a rocket ship that's obviously detached from the build plate, and that's highlighted in blue. And you can see just the beginning of some spaghetti forming. And actually right at the top of the rocket ship, there's a yellow box for under extrusion too. And that's kind of like the first little bits of the spaghetti, or maybe whatever caused the detach to happen. That's what it's picking up on the top. So you can see the animation is actually very smooth. I'm going to play it. There's also a little tiny little blob right in the bottom corner, which is, it's cool that the Quinley Vision has picked it up. So this is a few minutes later. The rocket ship's fallen over and spaghetti is way worse. And at this point, you definitely want the print to stop. We haven't stopped it yet. We just let it run all until the rocket ship fell off. And I'll stop it there because there's quite a bit to go through here. So Steph, what are some issues with having all this spaghetti and a detach on a print bed? Like what would happen to your printer if you just let this keep going?
Well, you know, if you have a regular printer and it's sitting flat, not Quinley tilted,
Yeah.
I would imagine that spaghetti could start maybe crawling up on your nozzle, maybe winding around itself,
Yep.
pulling the part around the bed. I have seen that actually. We spent quite a bit of time at one of the universities that have our systems. And so people would be putting in prints for the first time, get a bunch of spaghetti, and then all of a sudden it would just be moving all over the bed of their Ultimaker 2s. They just feel like it was quite entertaining sometimes, but not good for the person who designed it.
Yeah, so some combination of nozzle blob, spaghetti, and maybe the part falls into a printer down below, right? Because with Quinley, a lot of people try to have multiple layers of printers in their print farm. So if you've got a printer atop another printer, then a part falls off, it can actually cascade and cause another fail if a part falls onto another printer. So
Well, and we saw a couple of times I'd be sitting there, we were working on, other printers and that type of thing, and you'd suddenly hear grinding
yeah.
because the part would get wedged between the
Oh yeah,
nozzle and some
yeah.
part of the printer, and it would just
Angry printer noises is what I call that.
angry printer noises. They would be very loud, and when we were there, actually, I was very new to 3D printing and afraid to touch the printers. But when they started doing that, I just turned them off. I thought
Yeah.
that can't be good. That sound cannot be good.
Yeah, you don't need to know much to know that that's bad.
No, no.
Okay, so we have the detached footage of the rocket, and I'm just going to play our next example here, which is for our most recent video, actually, our warping video. And you can see this is a really nice example of how warping can go really bad really quickly. So it was pretty quick there. So I'll just focus on this first bit, where Quinley Vision's detected just the very beginning of some warping. And on this print, you might not care that this corner is slightly curled up. Maybe it's like a prototype, or you're just trying to see if a different part of the print fits. So at this point, you might not want the print to, or the printer to do anything, right? You might want to say, okay, just let it go. Maybe that'll be the end of the warping, right? So that's fine. You can say, okay, maybe you don't want Quinley Vision to stop your print here. So what we plan to do is have different responses for different failures for Quinley Vision. So you might want to say, okay, when it's warping, just send me an email or an alert or something and tell me to go check it. And if it's bad, I'll stop the print. If it's not bad, I'll let it go. Because things like this are kind of maybe a subjective thing that you care about, where an AI can't really decide. But then when it gets to a point where Quinley Vision is lighting up the whole image with all these horrible failures, you definitely don't want to have this as a finished print. You want to probably stop this before your printer gets damaged, or at the very least, you're wasting filament and print time. So this is kind of the point where you'd want some automated stop to happen. And in this case, something like a layer shift, maybe plus port bridging and overhang, those two things would combine together and trigger Quinley to automatically stop your print.
So I noticed Mateo has jumped into the chat, and I was just wondering, Mateo, at some point, would the AI be smart enough to say, oh, if there's a certain combination of failures, then it should be stopped? Because I know we're going to give people the option of saying, oh, if it's this failure, we want you to stop, or if it's that failure, don't stop.
Yeah.
But would the AI be able to do that? So I'm interested to know. And also, I see Taya says she just finally she got a passing score on the game, but I don't think she's told us what that score is yet.
Yeah, Taya, share your score in chat and I'll throw it up on the live leaderboard.
Yeah, you'll be number 2.
Yeah, you'll be on number 2 for now. So until someone else gets a new score and tries to bump you down.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly.
For anyone new, check out 3D Printle, because we're doing a live leaderboard. It's not visible right now, but once we go back to our main screen, you'll see the live leaderboard. So post your scores in chat, and if you're trying to look for 3D Printle, it's just a link in the description. And yeah, so if you're looking at what we're doing here, we've got a warping situation going on, and it's gotten pretty bad. Started off pretty gentle, and now it's pretty bad with spaghetti, really bad overhangs, and a whole layer shift that went on. So just these 3 examples of different print fails. So the batch fail, showing multiple fails in the same image, is something that we've done recently with the new model of Quinley Vision. So we're really impressed with the results. I think you guys probably are too. Just the amount of stuff going on in each frame of the video, and it's really cool that Quinley Vision can detect everything that's going on here.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know, when you guys are watching this, how readable is it? Because of course we've been working with it for a long time, so we kind of know the colors and we know what we're looking for. I'm just interested in comments from people. What do you think? I think that the labeling has been changed quite a bit. So
Yeah. Yeah, going forward, we've realized that these boxes were a bit too small, so we've increased the font size now on um, all the demonstrations we're going to show from here on out. Um, you can see some of these are still pretty small. The warping ones, though, we've made them a bit bigger, like this. So yeah, that's pretty much what we wanted to say with Quinley Vision. Any other little bits that I missed?
I guess just an update in terms of where we are working on Quinley Vision. I know people have been asking for sort of progress updates. And so I know this week there's a lot of work going on looking at deployment. How do we get it out there onto the hardware?
Yeah.
That's one of the things when you're in software, you have to do a lot of research around hardware. And I think there's some questions about how to do that easily and what kind of cameras people have and how their printers are set up.
Yeah, so let's see what we were working on right now is yeah, trying to figure out how we're actually going to deploy this, right? Because this has to be a usable product, and it works for us on our setup, but we want it to be something that we can allow you guys to easily install. We want it to be plug and play. No, we don't want to have any like coding going on or command line installation. We want it to be as easy to use as possible because the last thing we want is for you guys to be fiddling around with code and bugs and stuff. So we're trying to minimize that as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not practical to have something like this going through a website. Like 3D Printer works on the website on a browser, but you're not gonna have that. Doesn't work for your printer, especially as we go forward and get print farms, and that's going to be it's always an interesting challenge to figure out how we're going to get it working on so many different systems.
Yeah.
And I know that we are also looking at, when we were talking about the responses that we're looking at for these, that I assume, and I guess Matteo can tell us in the chat too, but I assume that's what we can do depends on what the printer can tell us to do.
Yeah.
I think that would be the way to say it.
Yeah, and it depends on the operator too. Some responses, so automatic responses are what Quinley Vision does in response to certain print fails. So the response for spaghetti will be different than the response for maybe like stringing. So if my print's stringing, maybe I don't care. Maybe I just want the print to finish and I'll cut the strings off afterward. So for Quinley Vision, I would say, okay, for stringing, just do a warning. Then if spaghetti starts happening, okay, stop the print. I don't want that to keep going. But we're going to have that level of customization so that you can customize the response that Quinley has for your print fails.
Well, and it's interesting just looking at the video behind us here, Stephen, that I think a lot of people get confused between stringing and spaghetti.
Yeah.
I've noticed that even talking to people on the quizzes, as just introducing them to it. So how do you think the AI is going to work to be able to deal with that over time?
Yeah, well, so the AI is actually pretty good at detecting stringing, because the difference between stringing and spaghetti is subtle for humans, I guess, but for an AI, stringing is a lot thinner than spaghetti. And actually, I'll see if I can get the image back up on screen, because stringing, the lines are super thin, and it'll be like in this image. There's a bunch of stringing going on here that we can't even really see properly.
It's on the far side, I think, of that image. Yeah, it is hard to see.
But spaghetti is very obvious because it's just really thick noodles, for lack of a better word. And yeah, it's going to be hard to see, I guess. But
I think we have
here.
I think we have a score. I think we have another score for our live leaderboard.
Oh, we do. So we have Taya got 711. Oh, out of 930. Oh, I guess you did a different quiz. So we have 711 out of 930. That's actually a better accuracy, like percent wise. Because
Hmm.
Mateo's was 127 out of I'm just gonna how about I do this?
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, because there's the thing on 3D Printle is if you've done the daily quiz, it'll actually give you a different quiz to do that you haven't done yet. So there's the possibility to get different scores depending on the order in which
Which
you play.
ones you're playing?
So let me put you down, Taya. What was that? 711. Kevin, I need to see your score for today's
Yeah, I
Printle.
haven't had any of Kevin's score yet. Definitely want to see that.
Oh, formatting. I need to add a hyphen. I'm sure I'm not the only one that was bugged by that. Cool. All right, so looking at Quinley Vision, that's kind of our update. So we've retrained the AI. We have some new demos showing all the fails in the same video, and so we've also had some updates to 3D Printle, the game that you guys should be playing. And one of the big ones that happened over the weekend is now it works quite well on mobile. So that's an update that we're planning to push later today. But it works a lot better. You just have to take my word for it. Yeah, everything's going to be on the screen.
Well, we should also ask people to play on mobile and tell us how it's going.
Yeah.
Because our preliminary tests, of course, have been good, I think, locally. But the more devices you try these on,
Yeah, let us know.
the more things we learn.
Because
So
tablets, we haven't actually tried it on a tablet yet, I don't think. But
not since the update.
not since the update.
No.
So we want to see if that's happening. So,
Yeah.
hop onto our Discord if you're not on there already, and we'll send a message when the new version is ready to play. But yeah, we've also been working on a couple new kind of improvements over the past week. We've learned what you guys wanted for 3D Printle. So yeah, Steph, why don't you say a couple of things that we've added to the game?
Yeah, and you're not going to see all of them today, but you'll see some of them. So you may notice now there's a guest mode as well as a sign in. This is for a couple of reasons. Some people are just reluctant to sign into things. They don't know 3DQ. We get that. So, that's fine.
Yeah.
We don't keep any data. Obviously, if there's no guest mode, they can't be on the leaderboard. We can't track anything. It's a guest. And their scores won't contribute to the community average or anything, because you could go on guest, I guess, as much as you wanted.
Yeah, so guests, we don't take any data from guests playing. That's just purely for you to try it out.
Yeah.
But the point is, guest is like a temporary thing. You don't get any of your scores saved, and your scores don't really get. People can't compare to your scores, and your scores don't contribute to the community average. So.
Yeah.
There are many benefits to signing in, essentially, but you can choose to play as a guest if you want to.
Yeah, so let's talk about the benefits of signing in, because as a challenger, because that's your other mode, although
that's
it still says play with Google or something, but it'll say challenger.
So it authenticates with Google. It's not like anything you've never seen before. It's just you sign in with your Google account and it's all secure.
Yeah, it's just literally the authentication. So obviously, as a challenger, you get to be on the leaderboard. You'll get progress reports and updates. And of course, your results are included in the community average, because when we say community average, we really mean the challenger community.
Yeah.
And you will also be training the AI as you yourself get trained. So you'll get to see your progress.
Mutual training.
Mutual, I mean, I've been learning a lot on it. And, our ultimate goal is that we think print failures waste a lot of filament. That we have a big, one of our big drivers is sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's no benefit to wasting filament with print failures.
No.
So we So, as a challenger, you are contributing to reducing waste, to creating the AI that will help, 3D push 3D printing forward. Um, and you get to be one of the first people to try new features.
Yeah, yeah, we're
Uh,
gonna keep on updating the site like over the next few weeks and hopefully beyond as well, um, to make it as good as possible. Because yeah, we've been learning a lot from just initial feedback over the past week. So
and the challengers are going to be the only ones who can get to expert mode
yeah,
because you need to get to certain scores to get to expert mode.
yeah, we should talk about expert
We
mode.
should, okay, let's talk about expert mode actually, because
Yeah,
that's going to be hard.
yeah. Well, maybe before we talk about expert mode, we should talk about easy mode because we were
Good point.
first thing is we actually found that the game for a person who's never done it before was pretty difficult. Like it was hard to get a good score, and also it might have been like a bit confusing right off the bat how to work the system and everything. So our initial easy mode,
We should show them.
yeah,
You can
I'll show
play.
them.
Yeah,
Can you
play
give
some.
them a little rundown of easy mode while I get it up?
Absolutely. So, well, what we decided is the thing is when you're playing 3D Printer for the first time, there's a lot of information coming at you. There's a bunch of different choices in terms of failures. You're seeing different 3D prints. We're asking you to draw boxes and to be precise and accurate. And then we're giving you, you have to figure out what the labels are and you have to figure out how the actual controls work. There's a lot going on. Plus, we're giving you the bar that says how AI is doing, and we're giving you a score. And it's just
Yeah,
there's just a lot of
it's a lot to take in.
information to take in. So we said, well, the AI is already drawing boxes. So what if we start there? Because the AI is very young. Think of it as being in kindergarten. So it's not always right.
Hmm.
So why don't we see what people think of the boxes that the AI is drawing
Yeah.
as a simple first step? And part of that came from Wordle because we said, well, Wordle, you go on, you do your 5 letters and you kind of guess your words, and it's not super challenging. It
Yeah.
kind of takes you a couple minutes or a minute. And we were trying to mimic something like that, super fast, easy, but kind of gives people something to
It's
understand about
like a
3D.
stepping stone because
Yeah,
you do a
exactly.
few rounds of easy mode, and after a couple rounds, I imagine that you'd want to get something a little bit more challenging. So you turn off easy mode, get onto what we're gonna call like hard mode, and
More
so
advanced anyway, yeah.
yeah, or maybe just normal mode. But
True.
what I'm showing on the screen now is our demo site. So this isn't live yet, but I'm just showing you what easy mode looks like. So you can see it gives me a problem, and the boxes are already drawn on the picture, but the boxes are labeled as unmarked failure. So these are boxes that are around some kind of failure, and I have to tell Quinley Vision what failure we're looking at here. So, Steph, what do you think this failure is? What do you think it is?
Wow. I think that one looks to me like a definite layer shift. I think all over that there looks like there's layer shifts.
I think I would have to agree. Looks like a layer shift in my opinion too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the box and then you click the type of fail that it is. Click another box, and I think it's safe to say that it's layer shift all the way around here.
I would say so.
There's not just multiple different fails going on. So I'm going to label all of these as layer shift. Click submit, and you can see that we were very good. Got 464 out of 465, which I think is just an off by 1 error. So Max.
No, I think Max is dinging us because the boxes are already drawn.
Maybe it's because we're it's too easy. So
Quinley gets a point.
it's dinging us slightly just for
I mean, Quinley Vision gets a point.
yeah. Okay, this one. This was probably not too hard. Maybe actually someone in the chat, can someone in the chat identify this failure?
Yeah, let's see what people think it is.
It's pretty yeah. I would consider this one an easier choice. I know there's a 30-second delay here, so now we have to fill 30 seconds of time.
Trevor, how are you doing? Trevor says him versus AI. He knows lots about
Ooh,
AI. Yeah, so Trevor, you need to go play 3D Printle. We're just saying today we got a live leaderboard, and we're going to and we're introducing some of the variations in the game that we're going to be rolling out over the next little bit. Um, and we actually found one of the challenges and one of the ways we ended up deciding on the boxes is that some people had problems drawing the boxes, and part of that was touch screens and styluses, and so the technology is challenging to work on everything. So if the box is already driven, you just drawn,
Driven.
driven, drawing. Yeah, if they're already drawn, then you just, it's much easier to play from a physical perspective.
Yeah.
So that's how we're starting with it, um, and I think that's a lot of. But we've got 2 votes for spaghetti already.
Well, 2 votes for spaghetti because Mateo did the emoji, and
Oh, 3 votes for spaghetti.
they're all different though. So Mateo did the emoji, Matea did just spaghetti with an exclamation mark, and then Kevin with sketty.
Sketty. That's an Eastern thing. That's what we used to call it when I was growing up, sketty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's funny.
Seems like we have consensus here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and mark this guy as spaghetti because I agree. Check it out. Did I get it right? Yeah.
Woo, oh, you got perfect. I guess you didn't.
No 1-point penalty
you
for
didn't
this
get a
one.
1-point penalty.
Yeah, I think in this case it was because it was a community effort and it gave us bonus points for taking everyone's opinion in.
So Kevin made an interesting point, and it's a really good point because we have also not had a real tutorial, Kevin. So of course you're not going to know. But he said, I don't know if the boxes are supposed to overlap.
Yeah.
I said that is actually a really good question. So yes, they can overlap.
Yeah.
But we haven't. We thought we'd get this out there sooner than later, and so we haven't gotten the tutorial in place. So it's a little bit challenging.
But yeah, boxes can definitely overlap, and sometimes you have maybe a whole pile of spaghetti, and then in the middle there's a nozzle blob. But you don't want to select the whole thing as a nozzle blob because that would give you like a negative, or it would not give you the maximum score. Because the nozzle blob is like a small clump, and the spaghetti is a big thing. So
Yeah.
you can have boxes that overlap, and even boxes of the same type. Sometimes it makes sense to overlap them a little bit. Like in the layer shift example, there was a little bit of overlap just because the boxes are rectangles, and if the shape's a circle, you need to sometimes overlap them a little bit. So.
And one of the things that that my dad had said is he was looking at one that was like a whole bunch of spaghetti and a nozzle blob, and he said, well, I imagine there's probably a detach under there too, and maybe some other things going on. And I said, that's an interesting point because we've never told people this is machine vision. So it literally has to be what you see, not what you intuitively know.
Not machine intuition.
It's not machine intuition. Although, I was saying this morning that we've started developing that, but that's for another live stream.
Can't say too much.
That later.
Yeah, so this is the easy mode, and we're going to call easy mode as almost like the tutorial levels where you can turn on easy mode, or it'll be defaulted as easy mode. You do a few, and then you'll be prompted to say, okay, are you ready to go to the next level? Enable hard mode. We can do just a couple more examples, maybe just to
finish the game.
Finish it off, just to see how we do.
Well, we should get our score.
And see how we do. I think we're doing pretty well so far. We've only lost 1 point. So.
Yeah, this is true.
This guy, you can see the corner is a little bit peeling, and it's helpful that there's a box around it. So
well, you could miss it.
This is a subtle one, right?
It's a very subtle one because you have shadowing on a picture.
Right. If this wasn't here, you might not even notice this. If you're just walking past your printer, you might not take the second to check this out.
Especially if you walk past from the other direction.
Or that, if you don't even see it from this angle.
You might not see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. So then you come back an hour later and go, what happened?
Yeah.
My beautiful print.
So easy mode, in this case I moved the box around. Pretty sure you just reset it. back to the original position if you want. So, I think you can also just move it around like a normal box. But,
Oh, nice. I
yeah,
didn't know that. That's learning something new about
I don't know why you
the
would, because
game.
this would just give you a lower score. But for the sake of experimentation, let's try it out. I'm gonna call this warping, and we're gonna do a bigger box and see if it gives us a lower score. Yeah. So as you can see, we selected a larger area than was required. So we only got 36 out of 155. Um,
Well, can we get more than 155?
Bonus points.
Hmm.
It's a concept we've been talking about, and we're still thinking about the best way to do bonus points.
Because we know, as I said earlier, that the first of all, the stuff we're putting up right now is very rudimentary because
Yeah.
Quinley Vision is very young. Um, but as it gets more complicated and challenging, um, people might see things that the AI doesn't know yet,
Hmm.
right? So if you see something, say something. You should be marking it, right? Letting Quinley Vision know, hey, there's some stuff here that you didn't see.
Yeah, like I think what we want to do is reward people for being ambitious with their findings. So, I could say, hey, I think I'm just going to trust Quinley Vision and think this is the correct answer. But um, I don't know, maybe it's not in this picture, but maybe I actually want to have a little box down here because maybe I think that's warping, right? And if it turns out that this is in fact warping, if everyone else thinks it's warping, then we might end up giving bonus points. Of course, in this case, it's not warping, so that would just go against your score. But I think what we,
So I
yeah,
have a question for you on this one, Stephen, because Stephen's the expert on this stuff.
yeah.
But it looks to me like the box should be just slightly further down. And I don't know, do you see the one that I'm talking about on the left there? That little,
What down here?
yeah, well, you
Because I,
start
I
getting
would,
into well printed part kind of lower down.
yeah. See, if
Where
this
the,
was me, I would actually maybe even do something like this, right?
ah,
Because it's kind of this isn't warping.
warping.
I can't select unmarked failure as my failure type, so let's just go with warping for now. But as you can see underneath, there's a little bit of roughness here, which isn't as severe as the roughness up in this box, but um,
I see. So you're saying it's still under, like you would still say it's under extrusion.
yeah.
Is that right? But it's not as bad under extrusion.
Well, it's just that I don't believe that maybe under extrusion on this far right side is worthy of being selected. So if I just drag this whole box down,
Then it's going to capture stuff that doesn't.
it's going to capture stuff that's not under extruded.
I actually
So
had that conversation with my dad the other day because it's a three-dimensional image on a two-dimensional screen.
yeah,
You do sometimes have problems with, well, how do I get all these pieces in? And I guess that's partially what Kevin was saying earlier is, can you have overlapping boxes or how do you deal with stuff like that? And that's an interesting thing. And maybe Mateo will, um, give us some comments on that uh, in the chat, but, um,
yeah.
or Trevor maybe.
Yeah, because in some cases, not all bales are come in a nice rectangular shape. Sometimes there's squiggly lines that you have to kind of just make a bounding box around. So, um, yeah, I guess I'm just demonstrating some stuff here. So, but I think in this case, we can say that there's not enough plastic in this part because you can see through it.
Kevin sees ghosts.
Ghosts.
Where are the ghosts, Kevin?
I think we need another failure type in this game
Yeah.
for ghosts. I'm gonna put that up on the screen. I love this new this new comment highlighting thing that we just added. So Kevin, your comment's up on the screen now. It's a very very good thing I think for streaming.
Yeah, I think it's great. I like it. Okay, so we should say this is our under extrusion.
Yeah,
We got one more
not a
image.
ghost under extrusion, and it's 155 out of 155. And this one,
So Kevin's saying that's exactly what he means with the boxes. And I agree,
yeah,
Kevin. I mean, we are dealing with a 3D world on a 2D screen, and yeah, that's where those of us who are not artists are like, where does it go? I don't know.
yeah. Actually, there's a good point from Trevor Haas here. I just want to talk about it for a sec. Not this one, this one. So this was talking about the warping photo, and I agree. There's actually a few different reasons that warping can happen, and Incorrect bed temp for sure, uneven airflow, definitely, and Z offset, yes. Those are all reasons warping can happen, and sometimes it's hard to tell just based on a picture which reason it is. Um, so actually what we're trying to do is in the videos that we're creating on our YouTube channel, I go over all those different possibilities. Um, when you think you have warping, you can watch the warping video and figure out first of all how Quinly detects warping or Quinly Vision detects warping, and then what you can do to fix it. So, pretty sure in my video I do say, yeah, check your bed temperature, use an enclosure if you have drafts in your room, and check your bed level and Z offset. So it's all good advice, and it's something that we're trying to incorporate more and more into this website. So I'll just show down. It's not on this version, but on this version. Well, on the site in general, once you finish a game of 3D Printle, you'll be shown all the different YouTube videos that we've created so far. So I'll show this after we finish this this easy mode game. So
that's not under extrusion.
Not under extrusion. And actually, let's move the box away so we can see what's going on.
That definitely, to me, looks like a layer shift. And I know I had someone actually today, I was talking at a conference and I was showing that that picture, and they were like, well, how do you know that's not part of the shape?
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's where you have to look at other clues. So one of the things that made me assume that it's a layer shift is just the way it is it's exactly the same shape, but moved over, and also it's somehow tilted. It just doesn't look like it's a proper thing, but I don't know how the AI would know.
Well, I think that it's a layer shift is more likely because of this grouping that's happening on the left side. This doesn't normally happen. So the layers aren't flat over here. You can see that there's definitely something hanging down.
So how is Quinly Vision going to deal with your models? Because I've seen drooping.
My models, yeah.
And you do that on purpose.
Yeah. So some of the prints that I do are intentionally doing stringing, for example. I should bring them on the next stream or something.
Yeah, you should. We should definitely show some of them. They're very cool.
Yeah. And but some of my prints are intentionally stringing, so they have like single filament strands connecting one point to another. For artistic purposes. But if I was going to print that using Quinly Vision, I would disable stringing detection.
Oh, I see. So you just turn off the one failure because you know it's going to think it's stringing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So
that makes a lot of sense.
I would mostly, like for that model, I would be mostly worried about like layer shifts or like a detach, because it's a very tall model. So if it gets knocked over, I would want a detach notification for sure. But yeah, if you think your model is going to trick Quinly Vision, you can turn off the ones that are causing false positives. So in this case, if you had a print that looked like a layer shift, you could turn off layer shift detection for that model.
Well, Matteo made a good point. He said layer lines shouldn't be vertical. That's what I meant by tipping, Matteo.
Yeah.
I just wasn't using proper 3D printing language, but that's what I meant.
Yeah, so as you can see right here, what I boxed around, that's not a line that should exist in the print. Those droops shouldn't happen. And actually Quinly Vision's good because it can see stuff that's hard for humans to see too. So we can't really see the layer lines too well because we have eyeballs. But Quinly Vision can see like the RGB values of the pixels. That's a lot more than we can see. So
and that's where I think it's really cool for education, because if I'm learning how to 3D print, being able to identify what's going wrong and how is really important.
Mm-hmm.
It also tells me what to expect even when I'm designing a part.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, because if you tried to design an overhang like this, it would probably end up looking all droopy and bad because there's no support under it.
So Trevor's saying that should be a game. Trick Quinly Vision.
Trick Quinly Vision.
I think that's a good idea.
I like that.
Say submit images, but they have to be actual 3D prints though. Like send us 3D prints that are real prints that are gonna trick Quinly Vision. I think that's a
interesting.
Really good idea.
What we plan to do is have quizzes that you can try out for yourself that are custom quizzes.
True.
So what we have are daily quizzes. So we upload a new quiz every day with random images. But what we could do is create an image set that's specifically designed to trick Quinley vision. So prints that have intentional stringing, or maybe a print that like does this weird layer shifting effect on purpose. Um, and we can see if Quinley vision gets tricked by it, and if you get tricked by it, because you'll have to play against the AI.
It would be very hard. And Mateo's got a really good point here that actually Kevin brought up earlier, which is what if you had a fourth axis?
Yeah.
Because we're starting to see that, right?
I saw a really cool video of a 5-axis 3D printer
I was just going to
upgrade
say.
for an Ender 3. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool. So how does it work for that? That's really interesting, and that's what ends up getting, way more complicated, which is why you're going to need AI.
Yeah. So in this case, like in the case of a 5-axis print, layer lines can go in all different directions. So there's non-planar stuff going on. So things like the layer shift detection might get tricked by that, because it'll see that layer lines are going like this and then like this. And they're like, what is happening here? So we might not be able to do layer shift detection as easily, but maybe spaghetti still looks like spaghetti.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're on
Zits are
5-axis
still
machine.
zits.
Yeah. So there's some different failure types that shouldn't matter, but there's others that will probably definitely be impacted by the change in layer line directions.
Well, and that's where in the future, and somebody asked that this morning in the conference, is in the future, is Quinley Vision going to be able to see what it should be looking like, so that it can be testing against it? And of course, that's the ultimate goal, is you're doing quality control, not just print failures.
Yeah.
Right. But that's that's down the road. But for sure, that solves a lot of those problems. If it's supposed to look like that, then you can leave those failure detections on.
Yeah, so once you get used to how Quinley Vision detects fails, you can kind of intuit, oh, this print definitely would look like a layer shift. I'm not going to try to trick Quinley Vision, so let's just turn off layer shift detection for this print. It's probably just something that you're going to have to do a few prints before you can kind of predict what failures are going to be bad, but
yeah. Well, and that's where we get into the more difficult prints, Quinley Vision, which is where we started with this whole section, is talking about easy versus hard and the guest versus challenger. So should we finish off our easy?
Let's finish it off. So this is definitely a layer shift. We've been talking about it for a bit.
Yep.
I'm just going to label that, hit submit.
And how many?
Actually click the button. Oh yeah, and we're not going to get a response because it's our dev site. So we're just going to have to know that we got 100% -1.
We're great.
So -1. Yeah. 99% is still an A+. So I think we did pretty good.
Exactly.
Yeah, but so this is our dev site. We don't have easy mode up right now, but it should be up later today, maybe tomorrow morning, that kind of thing. So
yeah, it's always a lot more complicated in the background than you think, because of course you got to give people a choice. Easy, advanced, challenger, guest, all that kind of stuff. So lots of stuff for our devs to do. So one of the I think we did talk about, challengers get to try new features and they get to affect the future of AI. They get to suggest new features, which is kind of cool. But they'll also have access to try features as much as a year in advance of when the market will get those actual features.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of cool. You get to use it like way in advance, and you get to watch it advancing and stuff, and submitting your own images, your own clips. Eventually we will be asking people for that, but we will be asking the experts first. And that's where we were talking about, if you're a challenger, you can get ranked.
Yeah.
You can go from sort of beginner to expert.
Yeah. So as you solve more 3D printals, your own experience will increase. You have your own personal score that goes up, and as you do more and as you get better, you'll unlock more features. So that's stuff that we have planned to still add in the future, but still stuff that we're trying to keep it. What can I say? Like whatever's online right now, we want to give it to you right now so that you can try it and give us feedback. We don't want to just create all this in the background and release it all at once.
Yeah. No, it's always better if everybody's contributing, because in today's world, the reality is technology never sits on one device, and you don't know how it shows up, and you don't know how it works in different settings, and you don't know what people are printing. So yeah, I just need lots and lots of feedback. So, so we also were talking about with 3D Printle. I think you have some stats in terms of our first week. What do we know about our first
Our first
week?
week. Should I pull up the stats?
Well, I'm thinking maybe.
Alrighty. So we have some interesting stats here. So we have, okay, total unique users for the past week, just over 100. We have 101 different people,
That's accounts.
accounts. So 101 signed in people that played 3D Printle. So we don't know how many guests played, but we
We
know that
had
there are 101.
almost 450 people visit the site.
Oh, okay.
But we can't tell, of course, because we're not tracking guests. We don't know how many people played.
Yeah.
But lots of people have taken a look at it for sure.
Average person played 2 3D Printles in the past week. So that's pretty good, seeing as a lot of
It's
people
our first
probably
week.
joined recently and didn't join on Wednesday last week.
Yep.
Total quiz submissions is 207. So that makes a lot of sense because 101 people played, 207 submitted. So average 2 quizzes per user. That's pretty good. Oh yeah, we have average scores per quiz. So it's looking like the average score is hovering about 50% of the maximum. Um, and that's kind of good. Like that's what I was hoping that we'd kind of reach. Because we've been trying to get the scoring system to be
Accurate.
accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
To
not
reflect.
too difficult. Originally it was really hard. Like I couldn't even get a good score even though I knew what the answer was.
Yeah, it was really hard.
So we did a whole brainstorm session and figured out a nice algorithm that would work for getting scores that were pretty close, that you would get moved up to be very close to 100%, even if your box was slightly off. But if your box was more than like half off, you'd get kind of pushed down quite a bit in your scoring because you probably got it quite wrong. So getting it about 50% is pretty darn good, considering a lot of people are trying this for the first time. So we're going to track these scores over the next few weeks and see how the community average improves in relation to the max score. And hopefully be able to show these stats in numbers, because right now I'm just reading a message I got from our dev.
Well, Kevin's asking, does that mean I have to repeat remedial Quinley vision? Remedial Quinley vision.
Yeah, from Matt. Matt says 50% was pretty strong. Yeah, Kevin definitely. I think it's only going to get better from here. So after you do a couple, I'm sure your scores will keep going up and up.
Yeah, yeah. We'll definitely. Well, there's probably a few tips actually, Stephen, that you can give people for maximizing their
Yeah.
score. And we're talking now about the challenger version, so where you're drawing the boxes and that type of thing. Yeah, what do you think? What tips would you give people to get better scores?
Yeah, well, I guess the one of the best tips is to be quite precise. If you think you know what the answer is, be very precise with the box. Because if you make the box even slightly too big, that'll only or too small, that'll only count against you. So if you're pretty close, you'll still get a good score. But every percent off you are is a percent off of your score. So that's one of
And
the
it's an
tips.
area, so like, are you cubing your percent off? I don't know.
It does end up working out to be if you draw the box twice as big as it needed to be in terms of, if you drew a 2x2 box when you should have drawn a 1x1, you're gonna get 4 times less score.
Ooh,
So that is part of the algorithm. Yeah.
yikes.
But it's pretty hard to draw a box that's twice as big as it should be. In some cases, in other cases, it might be not as clear. But that's where the difficulty level comes in. So there's going to be a little bit of fuzziness to the scoring, no matter what, because it's at the end of the day, it's an AI, and there's no correct answer. We're just trying to get a best. approximate guess.
So I think so. Trevor came in later, so he didn't hear that that we think Matea actually ended up playing a different quiz than Taya. So Trevor's like, I think she's cheating,
Yeah.
but um,
Yeah, well, the maximum score for Taya was actually like 900 or something. So
yeah,
Mateo definitely didn't play the same quiz as Taya. So
yeah,
what happens if you've played the daily quiz today, then you get shown a different quiz that happened on a previous day. So we might want to do something where there's an indication that the quiz you're playing isn't the daily quiz, just so that we can compare scores properly.
yeah. That's true. That's true. We should have something that says daily quiz,
Like this was March 10th
and then
quiz or something.
quizzes you haven't played.
Yeah.
Quizzes you haven't met yet.
She does have insider knowledge though. She knows what these print fails look like.
She does.
Although
Well,
I
but
think,
it's still hard to draw the boxes and stuff if you're not working on a 3D printer.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, well,
uh,
actually, the ones that were, because me and Steph are going to play a game at the end of this stream, and you're going to see us get fresh images that we've never seen before. So, last stream, me and Mateo did it, and we kind of knew what the boxes look like. In this case, we're going to do it from scratch. We don't know what the answer is. Only, like Mateo probably knows the answer, but yeah.
actually, Matea just made the point that hers was out of 2000 something. We should look her, yeah, because it actually does say so. Hers was 1227 out of 2015, and Taya's was 711 out of 930. So not quite sure. Oh,
I can add it.
and then and then Kevin got a weird. He got a weird copy paste off of his, but it says 427 out of 930 for Kevin.
427?
Yeah.
Ah,
And then he was,
there we go.
yep,
Kevin, you're on the leaderboard.
woohoo. He says the tip he needs is a filled out quiz.
Ah, yes.
Well, Kevin, I'm going to tell you because people are going to figure it out anyway, at least until we separate the two paths. If you go in as a guest and play it a few times, you're going to know how to get a good score.
Yeah, well, you can kind of do that with Wordle too. If you really want to, you can just look at the source code and see what word it is, but there's no fun.
Also, you can play it on different devices.
Or that, yeah. There's a lot of ways, but your own
Yeah,
personal dignity will separate.
incognito.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there are ways people will get around it. We know that.
yeah.
But
Well, the main point is that you're learning, so if you want to play it again, we're not going to stop you.
yeah,
Oh, Mateo. Mateo posted
915
his
out of
score.
2015.
Interesting.
Oh,
So
no,
Mateo beat Mateo.
Matea and Mateo are playing the same game, and Taya and Kevin are playing the same game, and somehow they're not all four playing the same game, so we'll have to figure out that one. That's pretty funny.
Here we go. I got an idea. So I'm going to separate this into two different leaderboards.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So we have Mateo, which he got 915 out of 215.
2015, yeah.
Yeah. And then
So
yeah.
people watching might be getting the idea that, you're only allowed a couple of names if you work at 3DQ. It's Steph and Steven and Mateo.
Right, there we go. This list is getting kind of long. That's why I only had 3, but
A double leaderboard.
Double leaderboard.
Ooh, that's
if it's a
fun.
bit smaller, maybe. Yeah, you guys can probably still read that.
Alrighty. So yeah, I think I'm going to be interested as we go forward in seeing what kind of tips people get from playing the game and
Yeah.
how that changes. I would actually like to see. I'm not sure how we could do this because time is always a factor, but I'd love to see with the more challenging ones.
Mhm.
Some sort of a recap, and here's the secrets to finding it out. Like
Yeah.
the rocket and the layer lines playing the wrong way. That would be a great thing for people to know.
Well, I think one thing we were looking at doing is after a daily quiz has finished, so the next day, you'll be able to, of course, play the daily quiz on that day, but also see the results from yesterday's quiz. So you'll be able to see maybe what the community average was compared to the AI and compared to your score. So we were thinking of having, like sort of a more, like a better review of yesterday's quiz than just, okay, here's a new one.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, one of the things that did get fixed in last week is it's much easier to play on mobile,
Yeah.
which is going to make a big difference for a lot of people because a lot of people do just play on the phone. So that's good.
Hello, Al. Al is in the chat. Nice to see
Oh,
you.
Al, how are you? So
We're playing 3D Printle as well as streaming. So if you want, you can open up 3D Printle on your on another tab and submit your score because this live leaderboard is still live. If you beat anyone here, you get your name up.
yeah. So and Al, there's for some reason we've got two quizzes going. We haven't quite figured that out, but anyway,
Yeah,
that's
depending on if
okay.
you've played today's quiz yet or not, you'll get a different quiz.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah. So do we want to talk about any other tips for maximizing scores, or do we want to?
We'll save it for the end because we're going to play a game and hopefully we'll walk you through the ways that
So
we'll
you're
try
not
to
going to give
maximize
me the
score.
tips before I play? Is that what you're saying, Stephen?
No,
Is it-
you want to spread the tips out to maximize viewer retention. This is how YouTube works. We're spilling all of our secrets here. We know the YouTube algorithm too well. I will be playing in the next few days. Yes, Trevor, let us know your score if you get in the next few days. Okay, so I think I also wanted to do a little bit of one of our customers, Bentwood Ring Supplies, did some really cool prints recently, and I just wanted
Really
to show
cool.
off one of his. You pull it up.
Well, and the
Go
cool thing with this is, he was actually struggling. We were on the phone quite a bit actually because he was having some challenges with his printers, and it turned out that there was just some adjustments that had been made recently that had affected all of his printers, and so he had to get quite a bit of quantity through.
Yeah.
And the nice thing with automation, and we know this from our own experience, is you can spend the time to really optimize your prints to improve throughput because you're doing so much volume. It's worthwhile. And you can see his ring sizers here. So anybody who's bought rings, rings come in different sizes, and he prints the sizers.
Yeah.
And which is great for the jewelry trade. And he printed 2,000 in 72 hours.
Yeah, that's an insane amount of prints.
That's almost 250,000 parts a year. 3D printed. With people at 3D printing are saying, oh, I printed 100, or 3D printing is good for 100, 150.
Yeah, nope.
How about 250,000? How about if we do that with 3D printing?
Yeah, injection
So
molding
interesting.
is pretty good, but once you hear numbers like that, you're like, wait a second, like maybe 3D printing is better than we're expecting here. 250,000 parts in a year in not an industrial facility. This is a basement, right? This is not anywhere close to what we would normally consider mass manufacturing, but
and not taking up a lot of room.
Yeah, not a lot of room,
I mean,
just a wall in a basement
with a few printers on it.
with
A couple of shelves. And
for
I
a
know
side
Al.
hustle, that's a real nice setup.
I know Al knows all about that. His parts take longer to print.
Mm-hmm.
They're quite a bit larger, but he's got printers all over the place. He was showing me because he keeps adding them because he keeps getting more orders.
Yeah.
So
That's a nice problem to have.
Yeah.
Not enough space for all your printers. I'm getting that as well. Actually, I have 4 printers at home now. I need another room.
Nice.
Okay, so also I wanted to show we've been talking a little bit earlier on in the stream. We were talking a bit about automatic recovery, and just wanted to show a little experiment I did a few weeks ago at this point. But I just wanted to see if it was possible for a printer to automatically recover from a nozzle blob. And you guys know nozzle blobs. They are probably the worst fail. I would say. I think nozzle blobs are the most destructive type of print fail. Anyway, but I tried this technique where you just heat the nozzle up and you just keep on extruding filament, but since the nozzle blob isn't pushed down into the bed, the nozzle's raised all the way up. It might fall off. So I'll show you the video here. Just let me pull it up. So that's the nozzle blob, and I just filmed the extruder to show that it was pushing filament really quickly. It was really fast, filament. So I was pretty much maxing out the extruder to push as much filament as possible. And here it goes. There's the nozzle blob. And you can see the nozzle blob falls onto the vapor bed. It doesn't stick to the vapor bed.
It's cold.
Because the vapor bed's cold, and the nozzle blob falls off, and all we have here now is a little tiny bit of spaghetti.
Which we can deal with.
Which can be dealt with, yes, and still...
Maybe just show people again, because they...
Yeah, but our heads
pretty
were
cool. Yes, our heads were in the way, and it's a pretty cool little experiment that Stephen did. And this is something that, of course, we could probably, program Quinley with Quinly Vision to do, for sure, I would think. I don't know that Quinly Vision could do it by itself, but Quinly certainly, I think, could. And I just love the idea of a super hot, high flow, hot end.
Wow, we were just talking to nobody for a second there. Sorry, guys.
We had some really interesting things to say.
Yeah. Well, okay, we were talking about how this nozzle blob falls onto a cold vapor bed, and as you can see, there's still a little bit of spaghetti hanging off, but it's not connecting to the vapor bed because the vapor bed's cold. And it falls off onto the tray because these printers re-tilt them at an angle, and all we have left now is a little bit of spaghetti on the nozzle. So maybe we need some sort of like automated brush system or something just to clean off that little bit of spaghetti, but it's at least a good demonstration to show what could be possible in the future. So I'm going to put it back here so we're on screen again.
Yeah. So, and we got to put Al's score up, 630 out of 930.
Yeah.
And
congratulations, you have earned yourself second place. Sorry, Kevin. I have to bump you down. What's the score? 630?
630 out of 930. Yeah.
Oh, it hurts me to do this. Sorry, Kevin. But there's only room for two. Because otherwise...
Small space on the screen.
Yeah.
Mateo says, yeah, it was really quiet. I'm not sure what he's saying with that. Like, I don't know what tone of voice he's saying that in.
Yeah, it was really quiet. I don't know, a little hint of sarcasm.
A little, really quiet.
Okay, Al is a pro. He does have a lot of printers and he does a lot of printing, so...
Well, he just said here, 9 printers in 750 square feet.
That's a lot of printers per square foot in a small apartment. Yeah. So, in terms of printer density, that's pretty high. That's more than 1 printer per 100 square feet. Alrighty, I think we're pretty much ready to do our game of 3D Printle. We have some high scores to beat.
We do.
I fixed the audio, yeah.
Are they going to watch you playing live and I play on my computer? How do we do this?
We could alternate. I could do one, you could do one. So it'll be a combination of
well, then we'll see. Oh, I
mine
see.
And yours.
Do a combined score.
Yeah.
Ooh, see who brings the score up and who brings it down.
Yeah. We'll see like an alternating like green, yellow. We'll see who gets to go most green.
What are you saying, Stephen?
It could be black and yellow, maybe. You know, we'll see who gets the most accurate scores.
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull up today's 3D Printle. So, we have the scores to beat. So, congratulations, Matea, 1,227 out of 2015 on this quiz, and Taya getting 711 out of 930 on, I think it was yesterday's quiz, or maybe that was flipped around. Either way, Al says his score should have been higher. He had one large detection instead of three smaller ones, and it was all on the same layer. Yeah, so that's one where I think maybe we'll give some tips pretty soon on how to know if you should draw one big box or like three smaller boxes, because sometimes it can be kind of hard to know what the best group is. So I think without further ado, we should get 3D Printle up.
All right. The live.
All right, here we go. So this one I don't know about
Is
it.
this today's game?
I believe so. Yeah, does this image look familiar to you guys? I'm not pretty sure it's today's game, but this is a tricky one, I think. I don't know how many fails there are in this image, but here's the first trick, right? You can see at this bottom there's a score box saying 610 points. And
Oh, you're getting insider tips here, guys.
I'm getting, well, this is why you stay to the end.
Yeah.
610 points. The more points that are available in a problem, then likely that there are more boxes you need to draw. So a failure with, or an image with maybe 150 points or 200 points, maybe there's only one or two boxes. 610 points, I'm thinking there's at least 3-4 boxes in this image. So, and I know that there are definitely a few fails going on in this one too. So, first thing that stands out to me is I think this bottom corner here is definitely warping. And I'm gonna draw the box really big right now just to show what I'm looking at here. But you can see this is definitely warping, and I'm gonna be trying to be really precise with my box. So I'm gonna get just the point at which it connects to the bed. I'm gonna be very good about getting it right to the tip of the warping, and then dragging this top part down just to enclose just what I can tell it is warping. So that's the first one, I think. Next up, there's something going on up in this corner too. And it's kind of hard to see, but there's some sort of spaghetti looking stuff up here. There's definitely material where it shouldn't be. I don't know if this is warping though. It looks just like generic spaghetti. It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah,
What
it
do you
is kind of
think,
hard
Steph?
to tell. Am I supposed to help you?
Yeah.
I think it's spaghetti because it looks a little hairy.
Yeah.
But I've been wondering about that. We need a zoom. But I guess AI
Yeah.
can't really zoom in. Well, I don't know, maybe it can.
So the nice thing about AI is that it doesn't really care if it's dark because it can still tell the difference between shadows and
Better than we can.
better than we can.
Yeah.
Because if
But
something's 90% black or 95% black, that just looks black. But for a computer, it can tell the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where AI does get more intelligent. But yeah, I would say it's spaghetti.
I'm just gonna go on a whim and say there's some weird stuff going on in here, and I think it's spaghetti. I'm gonna make the box pretty
I was
small.
gonna say, yeah, I think it's smaller.
Yeah, I'm just
'Cause I
gonna
would
get that
think
little weird bit there.
Yeah.
I'm a bit unsure about that, but I think that's probably as best as we can do. And I think the most obvious failure here is a layer shift. So you can see that there's obviously some general shift in the entire image. So this looks like kind of the general region of where my eyes would go when I'm looking at the layer shift. Down here, I don't know. It doesn't really. I'm not sure if I would be able to tell if that's a layer shift or not. That could just be a part of the model. So maybe this is something we could add to trick Quinley Vision, that quiz that we were planning on doing. Because it could be a layer shift or it could just be part of the model.
Yeah, I don't know how you would know. Once you've drawn that warping box, you can't see the other side. Actually, because that's sometimes what tells you what's a layer shift is whether stuff moves, but it's attached to the back
Yeah,
row,
so
I would
in
think.
this case,
So.
I would look for exposed infill on the left side and drooping on the right side. But since there's warping already on the right side, it's kind of hard to tell if there's also drooping. So I think I'm just gonna
But there's
have
a
to
mucky corner there. Does that matter? Is there anything?
this
You
corner.
guys can't see where I'm pointing, but
Well, I'm
yes.
highlighting where you're pointing,
Yes,
right?
that corner. It's kind of
it is curling a bit. That might actually get picked up by Quinley Vision as warping, funnily enough. But I don't think,
I wondered if it was indicative of any kind of layer shift, but
yeah,
maybe not.
this is by far the hardest one I've ever done, actually.
And that stuff in the middle looks to me like some sort of either over extrusion or under extrusion, and I can't tell, but
It could
it
be,
doesn't look right.
it could be a little bit of maybe a little string reflecting the light. I don't know if I am confident enough to say if that's any kind of failure that I can identify properly, though. Um,
And is there a gap along there at the far end, along that back part that you were just pointing at? Like,
what here?
oh, no, just a gap between, like yeah, kind of, but back, yeah.
Right here?
The problem is you'd have to draw it diagonally. I'm saying there's a gap in the corner on the lower part.
Well, I know that there's a bit of warping there because I did this print. But
Yeah, I mean right here,
here?
right there.
Oh yeah.
There's
Okay.
a dark shadow.
So
What
this is where
is
Steph was
that?
pointing.
Yeah, like there's like it almost looks like it's a little cave.
That's true. There is okay, that's a good indication there's layer shift. I'm gonna move this over here.
Oh, okay.
That's a good point. So Steph's helping me get a higher score, hopefully. I think this is good enough. I'm not sure if I should select this whole, right? If I want to do this. I don't think I want to do that though.
No.
So I'm gonna do this for now. This is by far the hardest one. I think the next ones will go by a bit quicker.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing with the boxes that Kevin was saying earlier too, is how do you do a diagonal sort of thing? Al says there seems to be another warp in the inside corner at the layer shift.
On the inside corner.
Oh, interesting. And Mateo was saying, I think it'll be really cool to start comparing how the AI works against community average. Yeah, I mean, if we had already had people at the expert level, it would be interesting to take something like this, put it in front of a bunch of experts, blow it up, and really have them go, okay, this is what we see. Yeah, I think it would be pretty challenging. It's a lot more challenging than you think. Uh-oh.
I just refreshed the page because I think I was on it for way too long or something.
Oh, okay.
The submit button didn't work.
Oh, okay. So layer shift, layer shift.
All right, I know what I'm doing here though. So layer shift. I'm gonna do a layer shift here.
You had warping. You had.
And then a warp, just like that.
Yep. And then you had spaghetti over. Yeah.
I'm not gonna change my answers. Okay. Here. Okay, 269
Oh!
out of 620.
We didn't do very well.
Interesting. So, okay, so the layer shift was pretty close. Spaghetti, I didn't think it was spaghetti. I was unsure about that because
It says it's warping.
it's more like a clump of material rather than spaghetti strings.
Hmm.
And okay, so warping was very close, I would say. And then layer shift, I think my box was just too small.
Yeah, it looks like it.
So pretty close, I would say.
It didn't say anything around that back part with all the mucky things that we didn't mark, but
Yeah. Well, I think because what happened, because in the darkness, you can probably tell that there is a curve going on there, but it's hard for us to see because of shadows. So
all right.
this is how AI is just unfair. It just
It
doesn't.
can see better than we can.
Okay, Steph, this one's for you.
Oh, well, it has to be. First of all, it's 155, so it's one problem.
Yeah.
And it's got to be no extrusion because it's like way ahead, way above.
Yeah,
So that one, I think I got the easy one.
I think you did.
Now draw the box properly, though. Don't lose me point. No, that's too big a box.
Okay, you should draw it because I don't want to dictate your score here.
I don't want to lose points because the box is the wrong size. I don't know. I'd be interested to know from Mateo what it is expecting as no extrusion, because on the one hand, my intuition would be, well, there's no extrusion.
Yeah.
But
This one's actually probably the hardest to mark accurately because
yeah, because what are you marking?
Quinley
Like, am I
Vision
just-
deals with no extrusion differently. It's because of an absence of stuff rather than because of the presence
Exactly.
of
But I have stuff absent all over this entire thing.
something.
So anyway, I'm gonna say it's something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you can't really go wrong with a box around the nozzle. Oh,
Woo!
that's a very good score.
153 out of 155.
See, that's a very good box. And part of that is if this was the old algorithm, you'd probably only have gotten like 50% because
So,
your box is off, but it's a small box. But now we've adjusted the algorithm, so now you're getting essentially 99%.
nice. Well, and Al said, we should be able to zoom so we can compensate for AI's ability to see better shading and darkness. And that's a good point because
Yeah.
it isn't really a fair competition when you take visual processing into consideration.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, actually,
we are
a zoom button
blinder.
would be nice.
We are blinder than the
Yeah.
AI. So,
Yeah. I should get Max to do a magnifying glass tool or something where you can.
oh, Mateo said, so that last one, the way you maximize the score is what is the minimum amount of information it needs to know that the nozzle is not extruding? And so that's a good point. So then what I should have done is really pulled it into to the sides of the nozzle and just a little smidge below it. Because
Mhm.
that's all it
Well,
needs to know. It doesn't need to know what's going on with the nozzle itself. It just needs to know that little bit.
yeah, so the area under the nozzle is probably more important than the nozzle because the nozzle is going to be there no matter what.
Yeah. But you don't need to know that whole space under the nozzle because
No, because
it's kind of redundant at a certain point.
yeah. Okay, so let's move on to I'm just going to clear off the comment and move on to the next image. So this one's fun because I can see a few things going on in here, and actually there's 910 points in this
There's a
image.
lot of things going on in this one, obviously.
Right.
Holy smokes. Well, I see a few things right off the hop.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. This is going to be, yeah. Stringing
So
was the
there's
first one.
definitely some stringing going on between these two parts.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I think we're gonna go for something about right about here.
Yeah.
And yeah, just move the box. So in this case, I would draw one box. So because this whole area is stringing, so I would just make the bounding box cover all of the stringing that I can see.
Yeah.
You would probably want to do one box for every case of stringing. So if there was stringing between these two parts, I would draw another box here.
Right.
But it would be incorrect to do something like this
Right.
because there's a lot of extra space and it's actually two different instances of stringing.
Right. Well, so do you see stringing back? Oh,
No, that was
okay,
an
you're saying
example.
just example. This is where I guess a freeform tool would be more satisfying from a player perspective.
Yeah.
But that definitely has to be under extrusion, right?
Yeah. So you can definitely see there's little holes in the side of this print.
Yeah, it's a mess.
And this one might be hard if you don't know, like if you haven't had an under extruded print before, but this texture definitely is what an under extruded print looks like, and that's what Quinley Vision looks for when it looks for under extrusion. It looks for the uneven texture. And in severe cases, it'll actually look for holes in your print. So if you can actually see through gaps, then it's definitely under extrusion.
If you shine a flashlight and the light comes through.
Yeah, if you can see daylight, it's not good. So there are a few instances of under extrusion here. So all the different sections of under extrusion get their own box, and I don't want to do a large box to cover all of them.
So Al said there's over extrusion in a lot of this.
Over extrusion. Oh, here we go. So
Lots
this
of
is the
those
controversy
layers.
that comes up.
This is
Oh, we should do
under
a thing.
extrusion versus over extrusion.
Exactly. Yeah, we need to yeah, what is under extrusion? What is over extrusion? They
And how
can
do you
look
tell?
similar because they both end up looking like uneven texture, but under extrusion tends to have a more pitted and kind of gap focused under extrusion texture. Over extrusion looks like a really kind of blobby and mushy texture.
But so this is an interesting point though, Stephen, because if you diagnose it the opposite way, your fix is going to make it worse. If you think it's over extrusion,
and you increase
the under extrusion. I mean, if you think it's over extrusion, you're decreasing flow, and it's already under extrusion. You're going to have even more under extrusion.
Yes.
Now, but I see what Al's saying, that it looks almost like there's extra blobs, but then there's also holes. So now I'm confused because I know, like, he's seeing the blobs and the holes.
Yeah, so I think when dealing with under extrusion, the shadows that appear underneath um, the pits, I guess, are more like well defined. They're sharper as an image, whereas I think the ones that come from over extrusion are a bit more blobby looking. And
I see. So you almost have higher contrast?
I think there's this, yeah, like the image is sharper. Um, yeah, the
So
ridging because of under extrusion has like a sharper look to it, but
interesting.
it's subtle. So maybe we should actually do another, because with all of these images, we have our explainer here. So under extrusion, we have an image showing what under extrusion looks like.
Yeah, and actually, I'd be interested to know in the chat. Did you guys know that every single one of these choices that you can just click on the triangle with the exclamation mark and it'll tell you more about that fail? I'd be interested to know. Uh,
What we have here for spaghetti is, because we know that spaghetti and stringing are commonly confused, so we have an explainer here saying don't confuse spaghetti with stringing. Stringing actually looks more like a spider web.
well, and Al said in his, he was thinking there's stringing, so it must be over extrusion.
Yes, right.
Because, and that kind of makes logical sense, but on the other hand, if you're under extruding and still not retracting properly, then
Yeah.
you can get stringing. So there's a lot of layers to solving it. And this is why we always say to people, you know, a lot of people kind of are very confident about printing in their
Mhm.
first year.
Yeah,
And then I think they get less confident in their,
it's
and then, you know, time goes on and then they realize how much they really don't know.
yeah, it's that classic curve of confidence. So I think I actually know the reason for the fail in this image. So the extruder gear wasn't gripping the filament properly, so it wasn't pushing enough filament. But then when it retracted, it wasn't retracting it properly either, so it was causing under extrusion and stringing at the same time. This is a
And that's what Mateo just it said. It points to a retraction issue. If you have this combination,
yeah.
you know you've got a, yeah.
So this is probably where we want to add a second layer to Quinley Vision, where it add looks at the combination of failures in your image and suggests the most likely reason. And I would say if you have under extrusion and stringing, you definitely have a retraction problem. So you need to inspect your extruder. You know, probably the first thing you should do, and then go from there. So let's finish off this this image here. I can see a little bit of rough texture here.
Yep.
It's a bit
Definitely.
blurry, but
But it's definitely there.
I believe that is also under extrusion. So I'm gonna
Yep.
set that as under extrusion.
Oops. There we go.
And okay,
And there's,
there's there's a bit of gnarly looking stuff up here. So I'm just gonna do, oh, it's not no extrusion. I'm gonna do one more right up here. Yeah, kind of like this. Because it's more on the back side of this
yeah,
cylinder.
definitely is.
And there's a little bit of a pitting going on. But I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I might expand this a little bit. Okay. And might be worth noting, my intuition tells me that that's also under extrusion, but I have no way of proving it. So let's just
Submit.
submit that.
Whoa!
813.
Yeah, good for you. That's good. What?
I'm happy with that.
Where did you lose points then?
There was one more under extrusion on the top right.
Oh.
That was.
And a slightly different shape
It's
on
not
that
as
middle one,
severe, I would say.
No.
And the other under extrusion was a little bit bigger. The box was quite a bit bigger, actually.
Yeah, and then they,
So I would argue that my box was more focused on the worst part, but
but fair enough, it is
I
all
think
under.
813 is pretty darn good.
I think it's very good on that one, honestly.
Cool. Steph, this one's you.
Oh, well.
This is definitely alternating in difficulty. It wasn't, I didn't do this on purpose.
Right? It's like, you're just going to give me the easy ones. This is definitely warping. And I guess I would warp it. See, now this is where I say I'm no artist, and everybody here knows I'm not super visual. So the thing is that I'm saying, well, where is it warping from and to? Like when I'm drawing the box, you know, am I trying to, I guess what I'm trying to do is hit like from there, but then it's a 3D image, so I kind of have to go
Yeah, so I think the way to
there.
say it is you get a bounding box.
And I'm
So,
bounding on the material though, not like I'm not bounding on the shadow, I'm bounding on the material itself, right?
and I would kind of want to put the shadow in because the shadow helps me tell that there's a warp going on.
I see. So to Mateo's
Hmm.
point, what is it that the AI needs to know that it's warping?
I think the shadow
I
helps.
think it's too far away though. That looks like a big
You could
box
maybe
to
bring it
me.
a bit higher up, but I believe that
Some of the
like Quinley
shadow.
Vision definitely does look for shadows as part of warping.
Right.
It also looks for definitely like the curling effect of warping and layer lines being um, non-planar with other layer lines.
I guess we'll see what's going on with that.
This is probably one of those cases where you're going to get so close that the scoring system gives it to you even if you're off by a few pixels because it's such a small box that you're not going to get it
And so I've got
perfect.
warping and I know it's 155, so I'm just gonna go 146. What?
It's pretty good. I guess let's see what
It
it
did
thought.
what's further down. It did go for the shadow. So that's
Yeah.
interesting, Mateo. Again, knowing that, I mean, yeah, what does the AI need to know? This is good because the more I would play this, the more I would know what the AI needs to know.
Yeah, so I think in this image it was just a little bit farther down to get the shadow, and then maybe a bit farther right to catch just the very far right corner of the warping. But I think for this, for all intents and purposes, getting 90% or more is still great.
Yeah,
So
I think so.
you definitely got it. Okay, here's an easy one for me.
Yeah, I think
Finally.
so.
Right, so this one is definitely a no extrusion issue. There's a gap between the nozzle and the print. And it's also worth mentioning that no extrusion is uh, it's hard to tell if it's a travel move or if it's supposed to be there's supposed to be a gap there or not. So one thing that uh, Quinley Vision, like when it's implemented, will do is look at the G code. So if it's seeing that there's a travel move, then any no extrusion detection will be disabled during travel moves. Um, but you can see here in this image that these kind of boxes that I'm drawing are around little dribbles of filament, it looks like. So I'm very confident that this is not, in fact, a travel move, and it's actually, it just stopped extruding for whatever reason, but a little bit of ooze came out. So um, Quinley Vision doesn't know that, so maybe that's for Quinley intuition later, but uh, for what I think, is this is what Quinley Vision needs to see. So it needs to see the gap between the nozzle and the print, and maybe just the left and right side of the nozzle is where I'm going to cut it off. So let's see what we get. 139. I'll take it.
There we go.
My box was a little big.
Real big. Yeah, that's all right. All right. Do another, but I think we've done five, so woo!
So this is it.
15, 20 out of 2015. That's what happens when two people
Tag
tag in.
team. So the 3DQ combined effort, me and Steph, we got 100% of better than 100% of all players. So sorry guys, we're still pretty good at this. Hopefully that you can see. But
Average community score though, um, it's because of that tough one in there.
the
That
top first one, I think we managed to scrape enough points from it.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that one was tricky because I didn't
Well,
know
and
if
that under extrusion one would throw a lot of people off
that one too. Yeah.
because there's a lot to identify and it looks also if looks like other things, looks like over extrusion.
Yeah, so what I would say is there were probably three easy pictures and two expert pictures in
Yeah,
there.
there's not anything in between.
No in
Two,
between.
two, yes, three dead easy, and the other two were like, what?
Okay, so we can go and see a quick recap of what we
Hey,
did.
Stanford, haven't seen you for a while. How you doing?
Stanford,
Awesome.
hello.
You got to go play print 3D Printle. That's what we're playing here, the AI game that Leah was doing all the AI for in the summer. Well, no, she wasn't doing it for the game, but that's what we've made out of it. Some fun with it. Yeah, so we can review our points.
This one was
Sweet.
probably the point getter here. So
Yeah. Yeah.
800 points. It's actually there's more in this fail more points in this fail than number 2, 4, and 5 combined.
Yeah, yeah. So if you didn't get that one, you're gonna lose a lot.
Yeah.
And we got black on the first one. How badly did we do? Oh,
269 out of 620.
yeah, because we had the different size boxes and different failures. Yeah.
So, well, I think we did pretty good for having never seen these before. And some of these were really tricky, more than I thought it would be. So,
And I think you were going to show people some of the videos down below.
yes, true. I also just wanted to show quickly that the AI progress. So last stream we started off at level 0 essentially, and now we're at level 20, and that's really cool because the levels get harder and harder. There's a larger gap between each level. So getting to level 20 over the past week, I'm very impressed. And
Yeah.
you can see that my lifetime contribution, I've done all the 3D printals every single day, and that's about 5% of all the score. So 95% of the experience is from everyone else.
Yeah.
So I'm still pretty happy getting at 5%, but that hopefully should, keep on
That'll
going
change.
up just over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And get more feedback from different people. That would be great. So, yeah. So,
Well, I'll show the videos too. So at the end of the game, let's say that I didn't know why. So I thought there was a spaghetti in this image, and turns out it was warping because it was kind of hard to see because it was in shadow. Quinley Vision has the added benefit of being a computer, so it can identify shadows versus a print much easier than we can. But say I don't actually know what warping is very much. I'm just gonna go and check out our videos, and warping is still locked. Actually, we just released it, so we need to update the site. But our most recent video on our YouTube channel is our warping detection. So for a different example, I'll say I didn't know what spaghetti was because I labeled warping as spaghetti. So I'll be able to see this video here, and ooh, there's spaghetti. Just mute this just in case it's playing. And yeah, there's me talking. And so I'll describe why spaghetti happens, some reasons for it, what you can do to prevent spaghetti from happening on your prints, and some nice useful little tips. Hopefully that shows up. Yeah, turns out the main reason for spaghetti is your part falls off the bed, so do everything you can to increase bed adhesion to avoid spaghetti.
yeah. So as we were saying a lot earlier, if you know anybody who's struggling with a particular type of fail, or even if you see an argument on Fix My Print about that's under extrusion, it's over extrusion,
Yeah,
you can send them to these videos. That would be great, and we'd love to get feedback. If you guys have a few minutes, they're really short videos, like 4 to 8 minutes. I don't think any are over 8 minutes. Say 8.5 maybe.
I got my sister to watch them, and I actually just told her to watch the most recent one, and she said she watched all of them because they were so interesting. So I was very happy with that.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And she's not a 3D printer person
No,
at all.
she's not.
So I was pretty pleased.
That's awesome. And they're very interesting videos. I found them really interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did a very good job. I'm actually surprised that we don't have something like that on the web already.
Yeah.
I find it's a very nice snapshot. A lot of the stuff that you see on print fails is a lot of text that goes on forever.
Yeah, or like some people try to cover all the print fails in one huge infographic, and you'll
True.
get some general tips, but you don't get specific tips, unless you really get into like a specific article about a specific fail.
We got Polymaker just jumped on, said,
Oh, hey, Polymaker.
what did we miss? So this week we just wanted to let you know, partially because of all the challenges you had last week with your VPN and everything, we have put on a guest mode, so you don't have to use the Google Authenticator. So if you're having any problems, signing in, you can just go in as a guest and play.
So there's no Google. I just signed in as a guest, so I'm playing the same 3D printal now.
Yeah.
Without having to sign in. So hopefully that makes it easier for you guys to play if you're on like a VPN or you just don't have a Google account or something. So
And the other thing, we're coming out with an easy version for people to kind of have a little bit of a stepping stone. So the easy version just has boxes already drawn by the AI, and then you have to say which failure it is or whether maybe it's not a failure. That's not up today. Um, and you can play the game if you want, and we'll post your score. Yes, you can definitely train today. The one thing we were saying though, in order for us to track your score over time, we would need you to sign in. So I don't know, because I don't know, what happened with the VPN tech, but um, if you're signed in as a challenger, then we can start getting you on the leaderboard. But you can, as I say, you can play as a guest. There are some tricky things in today's um, in today's
Yeah, today's, if
quiz.
you haven't, you can scroll back and see how we solved it, but I think if you want, you should try playing it first,
Yeah,
because
it's
it
harder than it looks.
there are some really hard ones and some really easy ones.
That's true. There were some really easy ones today, and then there were some tough ones. And some of what we went through on the screen is how you can find different types of failures, why they look like different things.
Hmm.
And then also that we have some videos now on our YouTube channel for each type of failure. So Stephen has said, he's described the failure, he shows video of it happening, he shows what causes it and how to fix it, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, check out the YouTube channels on our like channel.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're gonna, as Al said, we're actually gonna turn them into a playlist that you can kind of automatically get pushed to the next one once you finish one. Um, Actually, we should just do that now. I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't.
No,
Um,
no. And actually for Polymaker, so the interesting thing we've been finding the first couple of times people play, they tend to get pretty low scores, so don't be discouraged. Because AI is very precise and you're getting scored on accuracy when you're drawing the boxes.
yeah,
That's the other reason that we said the easy version is the boxes are already drawn. So then you don't, you're not having to do kind of four things at once, which is figure out what the failure is, looking at a strange new print, and you're trying to figure out where the box should go and then the size and how accurate it is. It just, that can be a little bit challenging. Um, so Al's wondering, why did Quincy Vision not detect over extrusion in that print on screen? Uh, on the screen right now. Oh, I don't know which one that was. Sorry, Al, there's a bit of a delay.
oh yeah, we get 30
between,
seconds delay.
yeah, between the chat and what's on the screen. Yeah, so if you can describe it to us, we might be able to figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, they are in a playlist. Yeah. So Al, I think they should just autoplay if you go through. If you start from one in the playlist, then it should keep going through the playlist. But uh, yeah, I think you might only get into the playlist if you go through our channel and then click on the playlist. If you just find it in your YouTube recommendations, I think it'll just go straight into a normal video.
So Polymaker said, we will keep fighting to defend the human race.
Nice.
And actually, it's interesting, Polymaker, because one of the things we've realized with the AI, because it's watching your printers, you can actually go and do the stuff that you really want to do. You don't have to worry about what's going on. It actually kind of sets you free to do your work.
Yeah.
And so rather than taking over your work, it actually lets you do your work, which
Yeah.
is
So
kind of cool.
you don't hopefully shouldn't need to worry about your print. You actually need to just wait for Quinley Vision to tell you if there's something up. So
Exactly.
hopefully that should offload some of the stress and worry from your brain onto Quinley Vision, who's a computer who doesn't have stress or worry. So make your life easier and probably improve your printing efficiency quite a bit too. So I'm just showing some examples of Quinley Vision. These are new clips that we got through the last week. We've retrained the AI with new data, and the quality of the annotations on the screen are a lot better in our opinion. And so you can see here there's tons of things going on at the same time, and that's no problem for Quinley Vision. And this is this is an example of we've disabled stringing and under extrusion detection for this print. So it's only detecting the part that's detached in the blue. And this is the same thing, but with stringing and under extrusion detection enabled. So say you don't care about small defects like stringing and under extrusion, you can just disable them. And then this example here just shows us, we've just made the boxes easier to read because we're admittedly extremely tiny, and now we can actually properly read them.
Yeah, we are trying to make the UI just easier and easier to look at. I think Al was talking about the print. Al, you're talking about the ones that started with the warping on either end, the long rectangular one, and then it had some of the, I think it had some spaghetti maybe in the middle. I think that was
Should
the
I just
one
go back to it?
Yeah, I think he was saying,
Let's go here.
see if we can find silvery goldy looking. Yeah, it's kind of sparkly. Oh, was it
So is it this one?
the
Under
one,
extrusion here?
the
Or over
one,
extrusion?
this is probably what he's talking about. Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's a good question because we had debated that when we were playing it is, you know, what is going on there? It's definitely there's something wrong.
Yeah, in this case, I don't feel like I would be confident in saying that's a string or over extrusion or under extrusion. I
Al
don't.
says that's the one. And
Yeah.
Mateo says the model hasn't had enough over extrusion yet. We need more over extrusion. We need
Ooh, I'm printing an over extruded benchy right now. I'll see how let's see how it turns out.
There is a lot of work to be done. That's true. We need lots and lots and lots of people, you know, helping us with images and get the AI going so we can get this onto people's printers because I know people want it.
Yeah.
We literally had people today saying, when are we going to get this? Well, there's a lot of training to be done because you don't want something that's, you know, got a 5% confidence interval. You definitely want something more than that. So,
Okay, here's a question from Polymaker. It's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, let me just make it so that it fills the whole screen.
It's a big question.
So, quick question. How can this innovation lead us toward preventing the failure to happen? Or is it even possible later on to push the technology to predict the failure before it happens?
Great questions. That's exactly where we're going.
There's actually a really good example. It's gonna show up in the video loop. I'll just pull it up. But what we wanted to do with Quinley Vision is for it to detect the root causes of failures. So before a real fail happens, it'll detect something that'll probably cause the fail. So in this case, it'll detect here. So it detects, this is kind of after the detach has happened, for example, but it detects the detach and then now it's detecting the spaghetti. In this case, it's maybe not the best example because a detach is a very instant event. I'm going to go to this next example where here we have warping, just a very small amount of warping, and I got rid of it. This is my first time controlling OBS, so
usually this is Mateo's
yeah, Mateo's
job.
doing this. So here's warping, and the Quinley Vision's detecting this small amount of warping, and the point is warping is usually just an early warning sign that a worse failure is going to happen. So if I let it play for a little bit, you'll see that the warping caused all of this. I didn't force the layer shift to happen or anything. I just let the print go, and all of these problems started occurring because of the warping. So the main point of Quinley, so I guess mainly about your second part of your question, is it is possible to predict failures before they happen, just based on early warning signs of small defects that it can detect. For the first part of your question, how can this innovation lead to us toward preventing the failure to happen? So a lot of what we're doing with Quinley Vision is like the education aspect of print operators. So when a failure happens, we want to have tips from Quinley Vision and possibly from the community too, in relation to the fails that you're having. So say you have warping in your image, Quinley Vision will suggest the most common solutions to warping. So check your bed adhesion, make sure your bed temperature is correct, make sure your first layer is like your Z offset's correct. Those things And as an operator, you'll learn from that and say, okay, Quinley Vision told me that I have warping and that this is the most common solution, so I'm going to try all these. And more often than not, you'll probably find that one of them actually is the solution to your problem, and you'll be able to avoid warping again in the future.
Yeah, I think the more experienced operators you have, the fewer failures you're going to have.
Yeah.
So if we can train people faster, I don't know how long it took you, Stephen, to see your first 100 failures, but probably a weekend. No.
I think I probably saw my first 100 fails in my first year,
Yeah.
and then I saw my next 100 fails in my next 4 years.
Yeah.
So
now you can do 100 in less than a month.
Yeah.
At 5 a day. And the reality is that we're also giving people fails they won't see very often. So they're going to be stretching that learning mechanism in their brain where they're starting to put things together like this is caused by the mechanical components of the system.
Mm-hmm.
This is caused by, this is a chemical issue. This is the filament.
Yeah.
This is a human calculation error. It's settings. This is caused, right? And when you start learning and seeing all these things, you're going way up the learning curve really, really fast. So you're going to have fewer failures because of that. But the other thing I think is that we're already seeing that the technology with certain failures is helping us catch failures so early that we're preventing big failures.
Yeah.
So by finding a failure in the first few layers instead of, when it gets to spaghetti.
Yeah, I was making some good comments here too. Exactly right. Small issues like warping, under extrusion, over extrusion, layer shifts, etc. Those eventually build up, and those cause worse issues over time, destroying the print. So usually print problems stem from one small defect. So if we can detect that as a small defect before the worst things happen, we'll save a lot of printer damage, printer downtime, and failed prints in general will be a lot milder. So you might just have a print with a very small defect on it rather than waking up to a huge nozzle blob and a plate full of spaghetti.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, when you think of environmental impact, because we're always concerned about that, a nozzle, having to replace a nozzle, you think about actually the environmental impact of having to replace a piece of metal that has gone through what has gone into making that nozzle, and the environmental impact is huge.
Well,
So,
people will order a whole new hot end off of Amazon.
or a whole new hot end. Then you've had, you think of all the pieces and all the things that had to go into that. And if that's happening thousands of times a day. So, I think the just getting more experienced humans, and then there's a number, well, actually, so Polymaker, we did play the video today of Stephen's experiment in terms of actual recovery. I was going to say remediation. Yeah, this is very cool. I thought doing the recovery experiments with the nozzle blobs, and this is kind of unique to Quinley because it can actually do this. So
yeah, this is the nozzle blob recovery experiment that I did a little while ago. Caused a nozzle blob, and I just started extruding tons of material as fast as the hot end could handle, and heated the nozzle up to like quite a bit over the melting point of PLA. It was like 240 degrees, and the nozzle blob fell onto the vapor plate, which was cold at the time, so nothing stuck to it. And we've turned the nozzle blob into just a string of spaghetti and maybe a few little strings coming off the hot end, which is a lot more manageable than like a whole ruined hot end. So I guess it's also worth mentioning that Quinley Vision would have stopped the print way before a nozzle blob would have gotten to this size. But we still have to detect nozzle blobs just in case it doesn't detect it for whatever reason. But unlikely that this will actually happen with Quinley Vision, but if it does, then we're trying to come up with ways that we'll be able to automatically recover from. And the nozzle blob is the worst one. It's the hardest to recover from because there's stuff almost embedded on the nozzle. So
Well, and from a continuous production perspective, because remember, that's what we're working towards in terms of the automation. Um, Quinley already has the ability to stop a print, clear it off the bed, start the next print,
mhm.
take a print out of the queue or reprint. And so combining that with Quinley Vision, for example, we were talking earlier, if there's a layer shift, there's almost zero chance we want that part, right?
Yeah.
So we would want to say, but we know layer shifts can be caused by things that don't repeat. So we
Yeah,
might say,
be
oh,
random.
yeah, in the case of a layer shift, just print again.
Hmm.
And that will be an automatic response with Quinley and Quinley Vision.
Yeah, and you can
So,
actually set it so like it'll repeat once, and if the same layer shift happens twice, then you can be okay, get rid of it, do the next print in the queue, don't repeat the job.
and report it back to me.
Yeah.
So now I, as the operator, can take action. But when we talk about print fails or print failures, I think it's important to say where we're talking about in the process, because if I can stop a print failure, um, you know, at halfway through a print, or a quarter of the way through a print, or 10% of the way through a print, to me that's still stopping or preventing print failures, in the sense I'm not delivering an entire print that has failed.
Yeah.
I am wiping off the beginnings of a print.
Yeah, this is pretty beneficial, not just to like, so we're using PLA in all of these demos, but Quinley Vision doesn't care what material you're using. So let's say you're using a really expensive material like, I don't know, polycarbonate or like one of those nylon carbon fiber materials. And every minute that you're printing is like $1 down the drain. Well, now
Yeah.
you're actually saving real money. It's not just your, $10 PLA that you got on sale. It's your expensive nylon filament that you don't want even like a few grams of it to be wasted.
But Al's saying too, he can lose a day of production off a failure,
Yeah, true.
because
Yeah.
he has to have the time to go and fix it. So it's not just that it failed and the printer sat idle for 4 hours, but maybe that was 4 hours at 6 o'clock in the morning, and Al's busy all day and he can't get it to it until night, and then he has to spend time fixing it, and then he doesn't,
Yeah.
and so on and so on. The impact can be quite a bit
Yeah, so even a
larger.
fail that
So
takes half an hour to fix, maybe you just don't have half an hour, and that means you have 24 hours of printer downtime or
exactly.
more because maybe there's just more important things to do than to clean a nozzle off.
Yeah.
There usually are more important things to do.
So we're trying to not just prevent failures, but improve throughput, optimize efficiency, help people be more efficient in their day, that kind of thing. So
Yeah, and Mateo was saying we know some people that do get nozzle blobs and they cost a lot, especially if you're running a big operation like a print farm.
yeah,
Hundreds of dollars per month lost to time and repair.
yeah, they were
That's all
basically,
preventable.
yeah, they're getting basically one a day.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So we have more questions from Polymaker. 3D printing simulation software approach. Simulate a printer. I'll put it up on screen.
Yeah.
Simulate a printer and predict what results a certain set of settings will give. What do you think about this approach? And yeah, I think pretty much in terms of 3D printing these days, software has a a lot more room to grow than hardware. Like hardware is pretty good. Like an Ender 3 can make pretty good prints. There's a lot of good printers out there, but software is there's no ceiling in sight just yet.
Oh no, it's very early days.
So I really want to see how 3D print simulation gets better and like prediction for how certain settings will turn out. Yeah, I know there's a few companies out there doing stuff like this, and I'm really excited to see how that ends up working. I think we're in just the very early days of the software, so um,
Yeah, they're doing it in metal with sintering. They're actually
they're doing
sintering simulations, which to me is a huge. Now, there's an area where you would save an enormous amount of money, because we know a kilo of metal filament, it's very expensive. And if you're going to get, too much shrinkage in some dimension in sintering, your whole
yeah, you can
thing
have
is just
tolerances
gone.
that just you
Yeah.
can't meet with like metal 3D printing due to warping. So maybe you need to redesign your part to reduce the warping effects or something. But even with FDM, I'm pretty sure that over the next few years, we're going to see some cool stuff coming out for, um, even if it's just something like, hey, you're printing in ABS, you should probably set your bed temperature higher than 60, right? That's some pretty low-hanging fruit. But I think in the future, there are much more in-depth uses for software. Like, hey, we found that most printers that have a Bowden tube need this much retraction. So, maybe increase it from 0.5 millimeters to 5 millimeters. Probably a good idea.
And one of the things we know is a big contributor to failures is mechanical wear and tear, I guess, calibration, poorly calibrated printer, or it just gets uncalibrated over time, like any machinery. And one of the things that we will be putting into Quinley Pro and Enterprise, that Quinley Vision will help with, is predictive maintenance, because Quinley Vision will see this happening, this happening, this happening, and it goes, and it will be able to figure out long before we would ever see it as humans, oh, you know what, this is going to have to be replaced, or that's going to have to be tightened, or whatever, right? And so again, you're asking how it's going to, impact the future and prevent failures. It's going to do it in a lot of different ways. Smarter operators, more preventive activities in terms of being able to not have failures in the first place. Catching failures earlier is also really preventing big failures. So a lot of different things.
Here we go. Sorry about that. I was just
and
realizing
Trevor,
there's nothing going on in the background.
And Trevor, people are Trevor's saying we might be able to predict outcomes of settings in a print, and people are already doing that, working on that end of things as well.
Yeah, I've seen there's people working on things where you look at the STL file and you compare the STL file to the thing that's being printed, and then you see if there's any deviations between the two.
Yeah.
There's a lot of research still yet to be done in that field, but that's one of the, like, we get questions about that. Are we doing that yet? We're definitely interested in it.
Well, we've got the technology to do it.
Yeah.
Imagine doing that on a manual system, it would drive you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But on an automated system, we could just zip through comparisons day and night,
Mm-hmm.
collect data like crazy. It would be, I think that would be very cool.
Yeah, Mateo's got ideas.
Mateo always has ideas.
Yeah.
So, I think we had wanted to, if I didn't want to forget this, we wanted to let people know that we are getting very close to opening the beta for the multi-printer wireless hub beta.
We do Quinley as well. It's not just Quinley Vision. We're still working on Quinley.
And many of you know, with the chip shortage, we did come up with the Quinley wireless hub. Mm-hmm. And of course, with the chip shortage, the logical question was, or the obvious question was, can we get more printers on a hub? And so we're going to be opening that up. Mateo said we're doing some performance testing this week. We're really trying to figure out how many printers or devices can we get on a single hub, because of course people will have cameras and at least one camera and one printer if they have Quinley Vision and Quinley. And then his other big question that he's working on this week, can you put different printer models on the same hub? Mm-hmm. And that's probably a trickier question than it sounds like. But he thinks it'll be open for a few people to start some testing next week. With our betas, we always like to try, keep it fairly small at the beginning. But if you particularly want to try it, if you've got the Quinley Wireless Hub and you want to try out, 2 or 3 printers, let us know. Just connect with Mateo on Discord and let him know, and we'll contact you as soon as he's got sort of confidence in how we're going to do this, because we don't want to take up anybody's time. Yeah,
we'll post an announcement on the Discord and probably an email once it's actually ready.
Oh yeah, there'll be an email and everything. So
yeah, stay
But
up
we'll
to date.
take the most eager people first, is my point.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I think that's it for this stream. It's nice to see people on the stream here. Thanks for joining us. Just some final words, I guess. If you haven't, check out our videos that we've made about Quinley Vision so far. We have about, I think it's 8 on the channel so far, and they cover in detail. One video covers just one print fail. So we have a video on spaghetti, video on warping, video on layer shifts, and there's going to be 14 in the series, one for every failure type that Quinley Vision can detect. So if you're looking for something to do after the video or after the live stream ends, check out those videos. And yeah, also try 3D Printle if you haven't played today's. We have our live leaderboard up in the corner there. So congratulations to Matea and Taya for getting the highest scores.
yeah, we have Matea, Mateo, Taya, and Al.
And there's
I don't
there's
know.
one that's not like the other.
It sounds like poetic or something, like we set it up. And then Steph and Steven.
Yes. It's like we have 2 different names and Al. Sorry, Al.
Anyway, no, it's been great today.
Yeah.
Really
fun.
good conversation. Mateo brought up some other things in the chat here. Where is simulation most valuable, since it's expensive to run and slow, and also the more creative ways to get around to be able to achieve the same things without simulations.
Yeah.
I think we should be talking about some of these on next week's stream, and presumably Mateo will be back with us and
Yeah.
feeling better and
Yeah.
back in the office.
So Steph's been filling in for Mateo today, and I think you did a pretty good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, nice to have a co-host, because I didn't want to do this alone.
Yeah.
I could have done it alone, but it would have been lonely.
You feel like you're talking to yourself with these online
Yeah.
things. It's just like, I don't know, you just get to the point where it's kind of crazy. Anyway,
Great.
good talking to you all.
Thank you for joining us on the stream. And I think that'll be it for today. So catch you guys next
Oh
week.
no, and Al said his last name is Amantia.
Alamantea. Oh, there it is.
See, everybody has to have the same name. Okay, we'll see you guys.